Hey everybody, welcome back to the Build Strong podcast. This is all about helping to build strong lives as we follow Jesus. Excited to have you back with us, and I'm excited to have the one, the only Tyler Schaefer in the house today for the podcast. Thanks for joining with us today.
Man, honored to be here. Long-time listener, first-time guest.
I love it. First-time guest. For those who don't know, Tyler, you've been on the team here at Life Center now a number of years. Talk a little bit about your role at Life Center.
Yeah, so I serve as the campus pastor for the Rainier campus, 2.5 years into that role, and then more recently have come onto the team as the
Chief of Pastoral Staff.
Chief of Pastoral Staff.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you.
I know what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, serve as the Chief of Pastoral Staff.
One of the joys I think we have of this season of ministry is we've known each other for a lot of years, but the joy of being able to work together and share not only a first name, but the first letter of our last name.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch people try to figure that dynamic out. Do you enjoy that?
I do, because most of the time they're referring to you and not me. But even coming together, that's when you're friends and you move into a working relationship, things are either going to get better or they're going to get worse.
Yeah.
They won't stay the same.
Yeah.
And so the joy has been our relationship has gotten better as we've worked together.
Oh man. Well, I can't agree with you more. I respect you a ton. You are a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal husband, dad, pastor, honestly, one of my favorite preachers. And so you're a gift. And I'm thankful for the conversation we get to have today. We're going to get to that in a moment. But we were just having a discussion before we hit roll on some music that you listened to as a Christian school kid, because you grew up going to Christian school.
I did.
And you were quoting the words of a Beastie Boys song.
Yeah, Beastie Boys was what we rolled to baseball practice in.
Okay.
In like a 1995 Nissan Gold Maxima.
Okay. With 12s in the trunk, or
Pioneer 12s.
Yeah.
600 watt amp.
Wow.
Hatchback, so you had the reverb hitting off the hatch.
So you're the real deal.
Real deal.
Well, the fun part, so in Tacoma, it wasn't quite as fancy as Puyallup.
Okay.
But Tacoma, Tyler, back in that day, I had a 1978 Datsun B210 hatchback, and it too had a 12 in the back. Mm-hmm. And so the whole thing would buzz and rattle, and it worked really great until somebody broke into my car in front of my house and stole everything out of it, including all my Christian CDs. So
that's why you just don't keep the Christian CDs in the car. Takes the temptation away.
Yeah. Well, hey, today we're talking about a resource we developed a number of years ago here at Life Center. And I know some of the people watching today, listening today, they're connected at Life Center, but others, they aren't. And for those who are connected at Life Center, most of their experience is just what they kind of encounter on the weekend. And many people, they walk in each Sunday and they just assume, oh, this thing just happens. But really, there's a whole team, a whole army of people who are working kind of behind the scenes day in, day out. And that's staff, that's volunteers, it's leaders, it's all of these different individuals, but they all have to work together towards a common goal, common mission. And we were talking earlier about just that sense of shared mission, shared direction, and why that's so important. And we're going to talk about some stuff that we've utilized or leaned into here at Life Center. But I think it's important for those who are listening to maybe consider how this applies to self-leadership, maybe to leading in their business and their company, or even how they're leading their family. And I know that when there's clarity, things tend to run a little bit better.
Yeah.
And when there's not, there tends to be friction, misunderstanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so today we were going to actually talk about a resource that we developed over the last number of years that we affectionately call the Little Book of Life Center, right?
Yes.
And product placement. We actually have a copy right here, the Little Book of Life Center, or Life Center's Little Book of Mission, Vision, Values, and Culture. And we actually, I think when you were coming on to the team, we were just kind of in draft form with this. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I came onto the team, a few months later, we had Vision Night, where we launched a clear and compelling vision of where we're going.
Yeah.
Now, then we had to figure out, now, how do we accomplish this? And what type of attitudes, giftings, effort is it going to take to really fulfill this dream? And clarity was needed, because otherwise we'll self-define what we think that means.
Right.
And what we think things mean aren't always the intention of what someone speaking something means. There's many times my wife had said something to me, and I've self-interpreted what she means, and I'm always wrong. So getting more understanding and clarity.
Right.
Hey, what do you mean when you say that? Because when you say that, it's a little bit different than when I say that.
Right, right. And so we set about this process. Like you said, I think that vision night you're referring to, the church I see, and we kind of cast that vision, and it set us on this trajectory, not just as a staff, but as a broader church community. Okay, if that's where we're going, how are we going to get there? And with our team, you know, both the staff culture, vision, values culture, how do we actually make sure we're all seeing the same thing, running towards the same thing, working together? And even saying that out loud, I began to think about how important that is, not just for a church, but I think about how many families are experiencing friction just because there's never been a moment where a family has sat down together to get clear.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, again, you might be somebody who owns your own company, and you're so focused on the day-to-day task that you've never talked to the broader team about, hey, here's clarity, here's who we are, here's what we're committing to, versus just kind of the tyranny of the urgent and going from task to task to task, which I know is very easy to begin to do in the ministry and church, where you're kind of going from Sunday to Sunday, and you're just kind of surviving week to week versus getting clear on where we're trying to go and how we're going to get there. And so the concept of the Little Book of Life Center actually came about. I was working on a project for one of my master's classes, and I came across this design company in California called IDEO, and they had developed what they called the Little Book of IDEO, and it was all about their vision and their culture. And it was, you know, simple, small, but very potent in what they were setting about to do. And I remember coming across that resource going, I want to create something like that for Life Center. And that kind of set us on this journey where we took the church I see, we took kind of some of what the direction we sensed the Spirit was inviting us into, and we began to compile it and refine it. And that thing went through so many different revisions. In fact, we had some rough drafts, and then we put out our very first copy of it, and that's like version 1.0.
Yeah.
But then a year later, so I think was that last summer, August,
last summer.
We actually did a revamp. We came out with like version 2.0 because we realized there was some stuff that was lacking, some stuff that was missing that we needed to actually add into or clarify or redefine. And so it's been a journey for us. But as you think about this little resource, what are some of the things that you love about it?
I love what the clarity it gives me as a leader to know how to carry your heart, not only in the big mission, but in the day-to-day. How do we live this out? Also, this is birthed out of your heart, but you also allowed voices to speak into it. You didn't bring a finished, complete copy.
No.
And I think one of the great things about my experience at Life Center is I feel like there's an openness to bring great thoughts and ideas and allow other voices to speak into it, and it just becomes better.
Yeah.
You're a great leader, but God's gifted other people around you that think differently, that have maybe a different way of saying things or a perspective, and you invite that in, and then allows others to be invited in, and we just make each other better.
Yeah.
And so these updated versions, sometimes they've been tweaks, sometimes they've been like, man, we didn't think about that a year ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's so
right.
good. We'll be in a meeting and someone will say something and it resonates in all of our hearts. And it's like, yes, that is who we are. That's where we're going. It's now in the book.
Yeah. So good.
As 2.0. And so we're learning, we're growing. But when we coach people, I think that's one of the unique things about Life Center. Life Center is the first place in ministry I've been coached. Every other place had great pastors, great teams, great leaders, but growth happened through opportunity, through giving me the opportunity to lead something or be involved in anything. No one ever coached me until I came here to Life Center, and I feel like I've been continually coached, and it's brought the best out of me and helped me to see things in myself that I didn't see beforehand, or ways to grow, or things to do things differently, or even just know like what I'm doing well. And so it's been so beneficial to feel like I'm cared for and I'm being coached because people want the best for me and from me.
Yeah. Talk about maybe some of the ways that you've used, because again, I think a resource like this, and I want to continue to try to help people who are listening to apply it maybe to their family or their marriage. I think all of us, whether it's in a company, in a ministry, in a family, in a marriage, we all need a sense of true north.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is actually something that we're setting direction off of. And so for you mentioned the word coaching. How have you leaned into the little book as kind of Life Center's true north in our staff culture and our mission, our vision? How have you used it to become a coaching tool or coaching resource?
Yeah. So we have 9 staff attributes in here. So 9 non-negotiable, what it means to be a type of person that works here, what we have to be equipped with.
And
so,
even to that point, those staff attributes, that's like the bare minimum. So no matter what role you are hired for, no matter what role you're going to work in this organization called Life Center, these 9 are non-negotiable. They're not up for discussion. It's like, hey, if this doesn't fit you, that's okay. We love you, but this just can't be your place. It's probably not your place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it gives us a floor to have conversation about off of and build towards the ceiling that God has for us. A couple things when it comes to conversation. I believe we can be direct and kind. That it doesn't have to be one or the other,
Right.
but you can be direct and address issues or areas of growth, but do it with a kind spirit. I also believe continual conversations give opportunity where we say it in here, like, I want more for you than from you. But in so many families, businesses, if I say I want to have a meeting with you, your first thought is, what did I do wrong? Where if you have continual meetings, and part of it's going to be coaching, and we're going to say, hey, man, you crushed it on this event. You crushed it in leading that task or thing. And other times it's like, hey, we were supposed to go right here and you went left.
Yeah.
And I need you to go right on that play because we're working as a team. And so it also gives us opportunity to not stack up issues on people. I tell our team this: if we fail to address it, we forfeit the opportunity to address it later.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to a spouse, to an employer, to a friend to be like, dude, for the past 10 months, I've been really upset that you continually do this.
Right.
And like, they may not even know that they've been doing that for 10 months.
Yeah.
And we just pile on because we weren't kind enough or courageous enough in the moment to have a crucial conversation.
Yeah.
And that's where we get into challenges.
Yeah.
I know one of my biggest heartaches as a pastor is being brought into conversations when decisions have already been made.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor, I just want to let you know things aren't working out between me and my wife. I've decided to leave. Whoa. Like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been in a conversation with you and your spouse months ago.
Before the decision.
Before the decision.
Yeah, that's good.
And almost like as a pastor, they want you to bless the decision. It's like, I can't bless a decision that you didn't involve me in the process with, or give me the opportunity to allow God to partner with us in that. And so the earlier you can have conversations before things snowball or pile up, the healthier it can become. And so we want to have conversations at the front end.
Yeah.
We want to coach up when there's little missteps, not when there's big errors.
Yeah.
We want to encourage more than we want to correct. And we will correct, but we want to be encouragers and push people towards their best. And so this gives us a lot of opportunity because we live in a world where we can get information.
Right.
There's no one that lacks the ability to get information, our smartphones, our computers, but the application of that information is what makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when it comes to those coaching conversations, if we both have clarity on the front end of what we've agreed to, then I won't be surprised when there's an opportunity to receive some coaching. But if the coach has all this information that's hidden and I don't know the target that I'm aiming at, and then the coach just keeps like dropping the hammer on me, which I think that happens a lot of times, whether it's in leadership relationships or whether it's in a marriage relationship or between employees, employers, getting clarity is so critical. One of the things that we added in version 2 that I was thinking about when you talk about coaching, we affectionately call it the Carey Quadrant.
Yes.
Because Carey Prosser, who serves as our CFO, one day we're in a meeting, we're discussing this idea of coaching, and he goes up to the whiteboard and he draws this out and he goes, here's the deal. Like, everybody's in one of these 4 quadrants. And as he drew it out, I'm like, oh, that's going in the little book.
Yeah.
Because he talked about in the low left quadrant. So those who are listening right now, picture, 4 square, like 4 quadrants. Lower left, you have somebody who says, I can't do it. And even if I could, I won't do it.
So competency and an attitude.
Yeah, exactly. And so out of the gate, we know, okay, that person's toxic. And so number one, we don't hire people like that. And if somehow they were hired and they still have that attitude, it looks like an opportunity to be offboarded, right?
You can't stay there.
You can't stay there.
You're either moving off or you're moving up.
Right. And that's where that whole, you use the language coach up. That's where that kind of idea came from. And so that lower left quadrant, can't do, won't do. The lower right quadrant is what? It is, I can do it, but I won't do it. And this is what we've defined as toxic people, right? And this is individuals where they have the capacity, but their attitude and outlook says, yeah, I could do that. I'm just not going to. And that becomes a very clear coach up conversation in our culture because both of those boxes are below what we call the good enough line for us. And so if they're in that lower white quadrant, it becomes a conversation with their supervisor, their director, like, hey, this has got to improve, or you are making the decision to be coached off of the team here at Life Center. And so it's not, well, they're so mean and this and no. There was clarity on our true north. This is how we do things. You knew that kind of coming in. We're clear about where we're headed, what we're doing, and why it matters, because we believe that the work that we're doing at Life Center is massively important.
Yeah.
We're not just doing Life Center's thing. We believe we are partnering with Jesus in his mission to transform lives and bring hope throughout Pierce County and around the world. And so it's what we do, and it's significant. And so to have somebody within the team that says, yeah, I could do that, I'm just not going to, that's not good enough. And so that becomes a coach up. And then when we get above that midline in the Carey quadrant, that upper left is, I can't do it, but I will do it. And that all of a sudden becomes just a competency issue. You just need some skill, some training, some ability. Obviously, our desire is to see everybody in that upper right quadrant, which is can do, will do, which is both competency and attitude, character that says, I'm in, I'm equipping myself, I'm getting better, I want to help move the mission forward. And so we're all in that process, and all of us are open to coaching, myself included, right? We have a rhythm of doing 360s where I get feedback from all the different levels of the organization. which at times, especially being a words of encouragement guy, like reading some of that stuff, it just like, it guts you. But at the same time, you got to be willing to learn and listen and be coachable, especially if we're going to help create a coaching culture.
And that's where our leadership structure doesn't become a power structure, but a support structure. And there's a difference in those things. A lot of times in corporate worlds in our society, power wants people to serve them, where a support structure says, hey, we're building something that serves everyone. And so when we talk about being coaching, everyone's being coached.
Yeah.
You're the lead pastor of all of Life Centers Ministries. But so who's coaching you? It's not anyone you're overseeing. So we've brought in someone from the outside that's giving coaching to you. We're getting feedback from others. And what it's helpful when you're coaching others is you bring how you're being coached. So when I'm coaching my team, before I coach them, I say, hey, here's how I'm being coached this month. Here's something I said that I didn't realize I said, and it had an impact that I didn't intend. And so I need to be careful how things come out of my mouth, in what settings, so that I am living our attributes. So I am being one of our attributes, adaptive positive, which is a word we made up.
Yeah, we made it up.
But we need to have schedule and plans, but things don't always go as we plan. And sometimes we don't have a full picture of God's plan. And so we have to be adaptable. We have to make changes and moves. But I have a choice with the spirit I do it in.
That's good.
And that's always my choice.
Yeah.
No one controls my response from my spirit except for me.
Yeah.
And that's where we're given the power of the Holy Spirit to work in us and through us. And kind of like we talked about this weekend, if I pray before I respond, my response will be drastically different than if I respond before I pray.
Right.
And so that's just this part of this process and journey is I'm being coached, you're being coached. We want everyone to be coached because we believe coaching makes us better. Yeah.
It's ultimately, I mean, it's a different word, but that's what Jesus did with his disciples. Like he's like, all right, go out. I remember one moment with the disciples, like, Lord, should we call down thunder on this place? And Jesus is like, what are you talking about? What is he coaches them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to destroy. I'm here to seek and to save that which is lost.
Yeah.
And I think about even this idea, how helpful this could be for families to maybe get around the table together. If your kids are old enough, pull them in, let their voice speak into it. But what are the values that we want to live with? Because then when you begin to have coaching conversations as a parent, hey, we said that this is a value, but this is out of alignment. But I love the point you made just a moment ago about how we choose our response. That's why we ended up making up that word, because we were trying to grapple with the language that stuff doesn't always go according to plan. And at times, we'll make a decision, we'll try to move something forward, and then we'll have to pivot. And every now and then it would really frustrate some of the staff of like, hey, we've been working on this and we're like, yeah, we had to adapt. And yet you watch over time, if you can try to adapt something, but then you have a negative outlook because of it. Well, we're always changing things. And so that's why, like, marrying those two words, like adaptive positive, like we're going to be adaptable, but we're also going to do it with a positive spirit. And committing to that is easier said than done.
Do you find it funny that in our heart, we expect things to go better than God does? Like we do.
Yeah.
Like
no,
we make
true.
a plan. We expect it to go according to plan. Yeah. And Jesus says, hey, in this world, you're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
We try to insulate from trouble.
Right.
And Jesus is like, I don't care how much you try to insulate from it. You're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
And that's where when things don't go the way I expect or the way I desire or the way I want, that I have a flesh that wants to respond in its own way.
Yeah.
And I've realized I expect my life to go a lot smoother and a lot easier than Jesus does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, hey, he uses the word long suffering.
Yeah.
You're going to need patience. You're going to have trials. You're going to have pain, grief, discomfort. But take heart.
Take heart.
Don't lose heart.
Yeah.
Don't lose your spirit. Don't lose faith in the midst of difficulty, because I've overcome the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're focused on the moment. He's focused on the finish.
Yeah.
And we get frustrated in the moment, and he has joy in the finish. And if we'll just go forward, but it's hard. Did you watch, maybe you didn't see, there was an Olympic runner in the trials, 800 meters, fastest woman in the world. She's expected to win the gold, and she fell in the race.
I didn't see that.
She fell in the race and no longer qualified for the Olympics, because in the United States, only the top 3 finishers, with no exceptions, make it. And I thought, man, she did not expect that. Training for 4 years. And so how does she handle that adversity?
Yeah.
How does she handle that disappointment? And I look at my life and I'm like, man, it didn't always go the way I expected. Didn't always go the way I wanted. I look at my future, and there's a way I want it to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know there's going to be challenges in that future, but we can control how we respond if we become spirit dependent.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen. One of the things that we also included in the Little Book of Life Center was kind of like a lexicon, like some language pieces that we use or little statements that we make. I think you mentioned one earlier. We want more for you than from you. What are some of the other ones that stick out?
Let's just pull out some.
Hey, go ahead.
Let's just open up the little book. The name on the front of the jersey is more important than the name on the back.
Yeah. What's
that mean?
Yeah. I mean, the team that you represent is more important than the individual name on the back. And it's so funny. You watch, like even high school sports every now and then, you'll see, a football game in high school, or, like pointing, at the name on the back of the jersey, but trying to remember like, no. When we show up as a Life Center team member, the team that we're a part of has to be greater than just the individual preference or the individual desire. Like the church that I worked at out of college, spent my first 10 years of ministry, Eastridge Church. Pastor Steve Jameson always used to say this phrase. He would say, the church has to win all ties. And what that meant was your department might have something, this area might have something, but if the broader church needs to win, like it's got to win the tie. In other words, like we have to lay down just our own individual preferences and keep the big mission, the big vision moving forward. Because even all these different areas of ministry and departments, they don't exist for themselves. They're a part of accomplishing the mission. We talked about this in a team meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
We were talking about we aren't a church of events. There's a lot of event-driven churches, and they go from event to event to event to event, and it's why they exist. For us, we are a mission-driven church, and we will use events as long as they are serving us in accomplishing the mission and the vision. And so that's where that reminder of, hey, the name on the front has got to be bigger than the name on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And practically, it sounds easy, but it's really hard, because if you were to take a picture of your family and you look at that photo, who do you look at first?
Right.
You look at yourself
Yeah.
to see how you look
Yeah.
in the photo. And if you look good or don't look good, then you'll go to the other people in the photo. But our eyes naturally wonder, how am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I look? How am I being received? And it's the selfish nature of our heart that we just have to fight and let the gospel remind us that it's bigger than us.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that became so important for us, especially as we are a multi-location church and multiple departments, multiple key ministries. We have a pre-K through 12th grade school. We have all these different elements of who we are as Life Center. And if we don't all fight from that perspective of, no, the name on the front. So even Central Campus, like I've defined this, like Central Campus is not the sum total of Life Center. Like when we say Life Center, we're not just talking about 1717 South Union Avenue. We're talking about the whole thing. And so how do we continue to do that? It's those little language pieces that help us shape that culture.
And you're fighting history when you do that.
Yeah.
Because at one point, Life Center was just
Yeah.
this location.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and throughout time and throughout ministry opportunities, that grows, and changing mindsets is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not because of lack of desire, but just because of how we're wired and the habits.
Yeah. It's muscle
we're used
memory.
to. Muscle
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's another statement that sticks out to you?
I think this one's important. Speak life. And we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We are convinced that there is no one that's over encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So anybody who's listening right now and you're married, you have children, you work for somebody, people work for you. I'm basically describing everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
None of those people that I just listed have ever said to themselves, you know what? I've been too encouraged. I need you to take it down a notch because I've received too much encouragement from you. Like it's never existed.
I've never come to you and said, hey, you've been so encouraging. I need a little criticism today.
Yeah.
Please. That's really what my spirit needs.
Yeah. 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 I feel too built up.
I feel too strong.
Yeah.
I feel too good.
Yeah. And so for us, this becomes a conviction, and it's found in the book of Proverbs, right? The tongue has the power of both life and death, and those who love it eat its fruit. And so the idea is, hey, let's speak life. And it works on multiple levels because, like, hey, we're Life Center. We should probably be known for some of the fruit that should come along with our name.
Yeah.
But also, I think just the reminder, everything in this world is working to deplete people. The dynamic of sickness, the dynamic of busyness, the dynamic of pain, of injustice. Like you go down the list, so much is like withdrawing and depleting. And we want to be a place where we can look at one another and we know that person's going to build me up.
Yeah.
They're going to speak life over me and into my circumstance. And it changes things. It changes things more than just a sticker on the wall, though. And I think that's maybe just one of the kind of concluding thoughts. Instead of calling them staff values, we made the decision to call them staff attributes. And the thought behind that was when I look at you, I actually see your attributes.
Yeah.
Like I look at who you are and I can recognize your attributes. Whereas, there's other companies throughout the course of time, like Enron, that had integrity as a value, one of their core values hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
And most of us know how that story ended.
Yeah.
They had a value on the wall, but it was never an attribute that you could see in the life of the people. And so for us, those 9 characteristics that we talked about earlier, those are staff attributes because we expect our team, when we look at them, we want to see these things.
Yeah.
We don't just want you to be able to say them. We want to be able to see them. And again, I keep going back to marriages, families, work environments for those who are listening today. And my hope would be that you can craft some stuff that your kids, they don't just repeat the statements, but that all of you, parents, kids included, like we're committed to actually letting these things be seen in our lives.
Yeah. And seeing, and it's one thing, like people aren't just known, they're experienced.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And you're an experience. Each of you listening, you're not just known, you are an experience.
Yeah.
And we've all had experiences with people that were like, wow, that was incredible. And other experiences like, interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to live. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to live. That's one way to treat people. That's one way to talk. That's one perspective to have. And Jesus was an experience that changed the world. He wasn't just seen and heard. People experienced his love, his compassion, his kindness, his healing. And that experience is what transformed the world.
Yeah. Yeah. What's beautiful about that thought, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father.
Yes.
Like Jesus is literally God with skin on saying, this is who I am. And man, what a challenge, what a reminder for us as we think about again, in our individual lives, what's our sense of true north? Maybe if you're a business leader, what's your sense of true north? And are you coaching people? Is there clarity? Are you engaging in these conversations? Is there that sense of the bullseye in your mission and your vision that collectively you're marching towards something? Because again, this exercise, this journey has been helpful for us, and it hasn't just helped us in a staff culture. I think it's also influenced many of us in the way that we try to live our lives with our families, with intentionality, even in some of the disciplines. We had a conversation earlier today of some of the personal disciplines that we're walking out and working in our own lives. And so having that sense of true north is something that I think we would encourage anybody, because if you're going to be a strong follower of Jesus, you got to have it in play in your life, right?
And if you don't know where true north is, it doesn't matter what direction you go, you'll end up getting lost.
Yeah.
But if you understand where north is, I know you're a hunter, a woodsman.
Yeah, totally.
So this is right up your alley.
I'm totally tracking with you.
But if you know where north is, based upon that, you know which directions to go.
Yeah.
If you don't know which way north is, you're just guessing.
Yeah.
And we guess in life too much when Jesus has made it clear for us. If we'll just apply his teaching, we'll know which way to go. Henry Nouwen had a chance to sit down with Mother Teresa, and he asked this question: what do I do with the pain and difficulty in my heart? And she said two things. One, spend an hour a day just focusing on the glory of God. And two, don't do anything he's told you not to do.
Wow.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, it sounds simple, but it's difficult in our hearts. And he just took that away, saying, okay, those are my practices. That's the true north. Spend time acknowledging who God is, and then do what he says.
Yeah.
And you end up finding out it's not restrictive, it's freedom.
Yeah.
And you'll have more joy than you'll ever experience in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Man, thanks for joining me today in
love
this conversation. Being here. Yeah. First time caller, not anymore.
Not anymore.
You'll be
not
back.
Anymore.
You'll be back for sure.
I'm here at Life Center.
Yeah.
Love serving with you and the team.
Well, you are a joy. We love you and Jenny and the girls, and thankful for just all that you bring to this place called Life Center. And hey, today, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And again, whether you're a business leader, maybe you're married, you got a family, whatever, I think our encouragement is, man, define the true north. It doesn't have to actually be a little book for your family, but get clarity on it so that you can move forward, I think, with intentionality, with focus, and really become all that God is calling us and creating us to be. So thanks for joining us today on the Build Strong podcast. Again, if you want information or you have questions about what you've heard today, you can always shoot us an email, podcast@lifecenter.com. We hope to see you again next month. Take care.